Palace's return to the top flight after 8 years sees the return of midfielder Andy Gray after an acrimonious departure 2 years earlier. The Eagles are humiliated early on at Anfield with their record heaviest defeat. Coppell's side rally, however, and 2 defensive signings make a huge difference. The side slowly but surely survive with a creditable 15th place finish, but it's in the FA Cup that this season will always be remembered for. Palace reached Wembley for the first time in the club's history after an unbelievable FA Cup semi-final victory against Liverpool, avenging the 9-0 defeat in one of the most enthralling FA Cup matches of all time. Palace take their place in the FA Cup final alongside Manchester United and play out another highly entertaining encounter. After just recovering from a twice broken leg, Ian Wright comes off the bench and turns the final on its head with 2 goals. Palace are 7 minutes away from victory in extra time, but a late Mark Hughes equaliser breaks the Eagles' hearts. The replay does not live up to the entertainment of the first game, and a tight and tensely contested match is lost by a single second-half goal. Palace record the club's best league term ever. They go unbeaten in their first 10 league games and also record their highest ever cup victory. The Eagles become surprise title contenders after beating Liverpool at Christmas. They can't quite keep pace with the runaway leaders, but secure an amazing 3rd place finish. An expected UEFA Cup qualification is cruelly denied near the end of the season when UEFA decide to rescind Liverpool's 2-year ban, leaving Palace without a UEFA Cup place and everyone at the club feeling aggrieved. However, the season did see a return to Wembley in the Full Members' Cup, and this time success as the Eagles lift the trophy after a 4-1 extra time victory over Everton. More prestige for the club as by the summer 3 of its players have gained England caps. Unanticipated events turn a season that promised so much into a huge disappointment. Chairman Nodes is embroiled in a racism row after a TV interview that unsettles the club. In September, talisman Ian Wright shocks the supporters and leaves for Arsenal. More upheaval as a week after Wright's exit, John Solarco sustains a season-ending injury. Palace break their transfer record and sign a replacement striker. However, Gabbiadini fails to settle at Palace and leaves 4 months after signing. Despite all the turmoil, the club record their 2nd highest ever league finish. More England recognition as midfielder Andy Gray and keeper Nigel Martyn gain senior caps, but Gray leaves once again after a fallout with the club. The juniors make the FA Youth Cup final for the first time since the late 70s, but are comfortably beaten by the highly rated Manchester United youngsters. The inaugural Premier League season begins with forward Mark Bright moving on. Palace start poorly with 1 victory in their first 16 games, but 5 wins on the bounce over the Christmas period restores confidence. The Eagles hit much better form in the second half of the season and go on a great League Cup run, only falling at the semi-final stage against Arsenal. But in the league, disaster hits at the death. Despite believing survival was all but secured, Oldham Athletic win their final 3 matches and Palace face the shock of the drop on the final day, with an ex-Palace hero rubbing salt in the wounds. Palace are relegated on 49 points, a record for a relegated side from the top flight. After an incredible 8 years, the club's most successful manager Steve Coppell resigns and is replaced by coach Alan Smith. Relegation sees 2 integral team members leave, but Palace reorganise with a new captain and high-scoring forward. Never out of the top 4 after Christmas, a quality loan is also added from Liverpool, and the gap widens between Palace and their promotion rivals, with the Eagles storming back to the Premier League as champions after an away win in the North East. The season finishes a week later at Selhurst on the last day of the Homesdale Terracing as the players are presented with the trophy. terrible season opener at Selhurst is followed by 7 games without a win, but the duck is broken at Highbury. Players are brought in to bolster the survival effort. An infamous incident at Selhurst involving Manchester United's Eric Cantona and a Palace supporter plays out to a stunned stadium. Problems finishing sees the Eagles go 9 league games without scoring between November and the new year. However, the goals in the knockout competitions flow freely and Palace make the semi-finals of both cups, but agonisingly losing both. The League Cup against Liverpool, the FA Cup against Manchester United, despite leading in extra time, but finally losing in an ill-tempered replay. In March, Chris Armstrong is banned for 4 matches after testing positive for cannabis. A season of disappointments is capped off in May as Palace cruelly drop back down to Division 1 in the only season 4 teams have ever been automatically relegated from the top flight. This leads to the inevitable departure of manager Alan Smith. Ray Lewington and Peter Nicholas take over the shared management role with Steve Coppell as technical director. The team are in transition as new arrivals come in to replace many departures in the wake of relegation. The new Holmesdale stand is officially open for the second home game of the season. Palace's form up until February is patchy, and Nodes decides to install Dave Bassett as manager to immediate positive effect on the pitch with 12 wins in his first 18 games, one of which striker Dougie Freedman scores the fastest ever league hat-trick for the club. The great run propels the Eagles just short of automatic promotion, but easily securing a playoff berth. Palace make it to the Wembley final, but lose heartbreakingly in the last seconds of extra time to a shinned effort by former player Steve Claridge. A major summer departure sees Nigel Martyn leave after nearly 6 years at the club. After the early season matches where a notable 6-1 away win is recorded, Palace are almost always in the top 6 places. A surprise move in February, however, as manager Bassett leaves for Premier League strugglers Nottingham Forest. Fans are appeased as Nodes announces the return of Steve Coppell to the hot seat. He steadily guides the club to the playoffs and to the final. In a role reversal of the previous season's final, David Hopkin hits a long-range last-minute effort to fire Palace back into the Premier League in dramatic fashion. Palace's playoff hero leaves in the summer, but a shock signing from Italy as Juve star Attilio Lombardo arrives at Selhurst and scores on his debut. A reasonable start is made, but an injury to Lombardo leads to a deterioration in form. A club record transfer fee is spent on a defender, and the Eagles also beat Manchester United in the race to sign a highly rated young forward. However, 8 defeats on the trot leaves Palace bottom in March. After a heavy defeat, manager Coppell stands down and is succeeded surprisingly by Lombardo as player-manager, with another player, Thomas Brolin, as coach. Already destined to go back down, a first home win is secured in April. However, relegation is sealed in the following home match. In the aftermath, Chairman Nodes himself assumes the role of picking the side until the end of the campaign, in a management team with Ray Lewington and Brian Sparrow. Youth team product debutant Clinton Morrison scores a winner on the last day, but Palace finished 7 points adrift from safety. The summer sees Ron Nodes' 17-year reign as chairman come to an end, as Palace supporter Mark Goldberg takes over control of the club. Goldberg persuades ex-Palace manager Terry Venables to take over the helm once again. The season begins with an unusual piece of Palace history when they play in a European Cup tie, qualifying through invitation. Palace bow out at the first hurdle. This is a precursor to an extraordinary season in the club's history. Results were mixed and players signed and left at a bewildering pace. Chairman Goldberg's financial situation deteriorates suddenly and was unable to sustain his financial backing of the club. Palace enter a spell in which its very future seems in serious doubt, Venables and his costly entourage leave the club at the beginning of the new year. Steve Coppell once again takes over as manager, and in March, Palace officially enter administration. The club is left in turmoil, but somehow Coppell expertly leads the Eagles to safety with a great 6-week period of results. An action-packed decade that began with unprecedented success saw Wembley finals, promotions and relegations, but ending in the second tier and financial meltdown, with the dark cloud of administration hanging over Palace's future.